Henshin and go-go, baby! You want some? We'll come and get it!
Just go for it!
Hello and welcome to Set for Smash Moveset Concept, and today's character is someone you might be familiar with if you've been watching my channel. I'm of course referring to Viewtiful Joe. I would love to go into more of the origins of Joe, but if you want a full in-depth review of the series, I highly recommend you check out my video on the Viewtiful Joe series, known as the Viewtiful Joe Collection, where I actually reviewed every single Viewtiful Joe game that's out there. But other than that, Viewtiful Joe was an, average Joe who loves movies and taking him to dates with his girlfriend, Sylvia. However, after an evil organization known as the Jeddo Empire kidnaps Sylvia, Joe goes into movie land and becomes the hero of the cinematic universe, Viewtiful Joe. And he'll use the power of film to take on Smash Brothers as well. Beginning again with the details, Joe was surprisingly a short character, on par with the height of Mega Man. I decided to go with this because I've actually mentioned that Joe is somewhat of an homage to a Mega Man. You know, just replace a blaster with punching and kicking. He's also pretty light of a character, so every time he gets hit, he can get sent flying real easily. He is also surprisingly slow, but he can also get even slower, but I'll get to that when I'll get to that. And since his weight is surprisingly light, he's also got pretty weak defenses, so knocking him out is actually surprisingly easy. However, he makes up for this for having very good attack and very high quality knockback. He also has 2 high jumps and no other movement options. One of the biggest things about Viewtiful Joe is his VFX energy, and that's actually where his ability is going to be, his VFX energy. You can actually see a film bar above his stock icons. This is actually really important because Joe is probably going to be the first character in Smash to not actually have a shielding ability. You won't even be able to air dodge or just regular dodge. Instead, if you hold the L or R button, you'll actually activate his VFX energy, but both buttons do the same ability. His most iconic, slow. If you hold the button, Joe will actually move a lot slower, but it does cost some VFX energy. However, if you use it all up, you'll actually turn back into the regular version of Joe. Most of Joe's stats kind of stay the same with the exception of his defense, as he'll actually be more defenseless. Just like in the Viewtiful Joe games, this is mostly because you have to make sure to balance your action and your VFX energy. What's the most important thing about VFX energy, you're wondering? Well, this is actually a few of the things Joe can actually do with it. For starters, he'll of course slow down. However, it will also give his attacks more power and more knockback ability, making Joe one of the smallest heavy hitters in Super Smash Bros. But that's not all as well. If you hit a projectile in slow mode, Joe will actually hit it back at the opponents. When doing punches, it'll automatically do a straight forward attack, while kicks will actually send them upwards diagonally. Very faithful to the original version. But one of the biggest things you can do with this ability is auto dodge, just like in Viewtiful Joe. If you feel like you're about to get hit by a very powerful attack and you have no way of avoiding it, by hitting the slow mode button, you'll do an automatic dodge against the attack. Note, this is only for specific attacks, not for every single attack in Smash Brothers. Basically, anything physical or projectile are capable of auto-dodging, but you're only capable of doing it twice before Joe is completely out of VFX energy. That way, of course, it's not super broken, and it technically counts as Joe's automatic dodge. I should also explain this too. Joe's slow ability does not affect the whole stage, it only affects a specific area. Somewhat similar to Bayonetta's Witch Time for specific characters. Only difference is the area surrounding Joe, in a cinematic, like widescreen, will actually be affected. So if some characters do get too close to Joe, they'll actually slow down as well. But Joe will still have the advantage when it comes to combat. This is also the best way I could actually work Joe's moveset into Smash Brothers to make it feel like you're playing Viewtiful Joe itself. Now, moving along, for his entrance, he literally just jumps into the stage, just like how he jumps into specific missions. The series symbol is the Flamin' Hot V for Viewtiful. The victory theme is the opening title card for every episode in Viewtiful Joe, aka the world levels. For his taunts, he'll do his iconic Henshin and Go-Go baby taunt. For his second taunt, he'll actually jump up in the air, which is actually a reference to his up dodge. And as a fun little nice trick, you can't even sweep the leg when characters actually hit Joe. And for his third taunt, he'll actually do another pose. For the palette colors, we'll of course see 2 different versions, one for Viewtiful Joe and one for Average Joe. Of course, each are in their default designs. Palette 2 will actually make Viewtiful Joe into a blue superhero, while regular Joe will actually have a red shirt. Sort of an inverted color situation, but it also references Captain Blue, Joe's heroic icon. The third color palette will have Viewtiful Joe in a teal color, while regular Joe will have a pink shirt, referencing Sylvia's design in Viewtiful Joe 2, both her hero form and her average form. Palette 4 will actually give Viewtiful Joe a black attire, while regular Joe will have a dark purple shirt. Of course, referencing the rival character of the series, and best character, AngelStar. Palette 5 will actually have Viewtiful Joe in a white hero's outfit, while regular Joe will have a black t-shirt, referencing the villain of Viewtiful Joe 2, Jet Black, who in actuality is actually Joe's father, Jet Black. Palette 6 is an all-green attire, and Palette 7 is an all-yellow attire. These are actually references to the multiplayer fighting game Viewtiful Joe Red Hot Rumble. And the 8th palette is a fun little reference. We'll have Viewtiful Joe in a dark red attire, while regular Joe is in a black-gray attire with white hair, referencing Dante from Devil May Cry. This is mostly because Viewtiful Joe was made by Hideki Kamiya, the same person behind the Devil May Cry series, and Dante has crossed over with Joe quite a few times. And this is probably the closest thing we'll get to Dante playable in Smash, next to, well, you know. For his victory animations, Joe will of course do his iconic pose and say,
Head to the go-go, baby!
For his second victory animation, it'll actually be the same victory pose he uses when he defeats a boss in the Viewtiful Joe games. And for the final victory pose, Joe will actually slam down into the stage and then do a muscle flex, somewhat similar to the zoom ability. It'll even have the special zoom effect that'll actually appear when he's doing it. But as a fun little joke, if you keep it on too long, he'll actually revert back to regular Joe. Moving on to standard attacks, and of course we start with the jabs. For his jab, it's actually pretty easy, and also complicated. For standard jab, he'll actually do a 1-2 punch, and if you press the button rapidly, he'll actually do a rapid punch, similar to how he actually does a rapid punch when in Mach speed mode in zoom mode. And since I mentioned that, this is actually one of the few moves that'll actually cost VFX energy. However, if you actually do this in slow mode, he'll actually do a 6-hit combo punch, similar to the Viewtiful Joe games. Of course costing VFX energy as well, but it'll also have a good chance of actually trapping foes and doing higher knockback. For the dash, I decided to actually go with the Red Hot Kick, one of Joe's most iconic attacks in the Viewtiful Joe series. This is mostly because I haven't really found a dash attack that Joe actually uses in the series. And if you can time the slow button perfectly, you can even do a Red Hot Blaze Kick, where the Red Hot Kick literally catches on fire. For the side tilt, he'll do an upward kick. For his up tilt, he'll do an uppercut. For his down tilt, he'll just do a slide. But as a cool little effect for the slide ability, Joe can actually slide off the edge of a stage and still be capable of doing his double jump. For the side smash, Joe will let out a powerful Viewtiful Punch. For his up smash, he'll do the double up kick from Viewtiful Joe Double Trouble, where he'll spin his legs in a copter-like formation, somewhat similar to another iconic Capcom character. For his down smash, he'll slam his fist in the ground, and 2 thunk sounds will appear in between Joe. This is known as sound effects, which actually debuted in Viewtiful Joe Red Hot Rumble. And before anyone asks, I don't really know whether or not Red Hot Rumble is canon to the main Joe series, as it's interconnected with the Viewtiful Joe anime, which also exists. But I'll probably talk about that sometime in the future, in case you're wondering. For the standard aerial, Joe will do a default pose like most characters do in Super Smash Bros. For the forward aerial, Joe will do a forward punch. For the back aerial, Joe will do a back punch. The up aerial will have Joe do an upward kick. And of course, the down aerial is the Red Hot Kick. And just like in the dash, if you can time it perfectly, the Red Hot Kick will have a fire effect. For the grabs, this one was a little tricky because Joe doesn't really grab much in the series, so I had to be a little inventive. Joe grabs people with one hand and does a stomach punch. For the back throw, he'll use a move called the Yamarashi, an artful overarm throwing technique known in some forms of judo. Mostly because you actually do see Joe use this attack in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. However, for the forward throw, the up throw, and the down throw, they're actually moves inspired by Captain Falcon. I decided to go with this because, well, I can probably see Joe having some inspiration by design of Captain Falcon, even though Joe is somewhat inspired by Super Sentai. But I wouldn't be surprised if it would be easier to actually reuse the same moves that Falcon has used for the series, and Joe just thought he was cool and would like to copy him, just like how he was inspired by Captain Blue. Last but not least is the special attacks. And for the standard special, Joe will use one of his most iconic items, the V Boomerang. By holding the B button, Joe will actually charge a boomerang to come out of his forehead. By default, he'll actually throw it right in front of him, but in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you can actually throw the boomerang in any direction you want to. You can throw it upwards, downwards, and diagonally, somewhat similar to Mega Man's Metal Blade. As I mentioned before, Joe is somewhat inspired by the Mega Man series. For his side special, he'll be using one of the most deadly weapons, the Shocking Pink. A pink explosive that Joe will actually kick in the air and you can hold for a while, but you can't hold it for too long or it'll explode, and Joe will kick it away after you let go. However, the explosion is surprisingly weak for a side special. However, if you actually are holding the slow button and charging the attack, the bomb will actually get somewhat bigger and cause a bigger explosion and a bigger hitbox. Just note this won't damage Joe at all, but it will affect opponents. The biggest problem though is trying to find the perfect timing to actually detonate the bomb when characters are close. For the up special, I don't really know the official name, but I decided to call it the Viewtiful Corkscrew. By choosing a direction, whether it's up left, up right, or just up, Joe will actually spin in a spiral and jump in a spiral, hitting foes above him. It's actually one of Joe's biggest downfalls, as it's probably one of the weakest recoveries in Smash Bros. Even if you use it slow, it'll only go slightly farther, but it still costs VFX energy. If you're on the ground, however, you can actually use the move twice, one upwards and one in any direction of your choice. But as an upside, Joe will not go into free fall when using this attack. For the down special, there's actually two unique versions. One is the Viewtiful Cyclone, where Joe literally does a cyclone spin. It'll be actually a Mach speed version, and if you get characters trapped in it, it'll actually get them in a massive combo. But of course, it burns through VFX energy. However, if you do this in the slow version, you'll actually be able to send characters flying very far. And as a fun little technique, you can even switch between Mach speed and slow version in between attacks, giving yourself some major combo damage. Though no, you can only do this attack when Joe is on the ground. When in the air, Joe will use Viewtiful Impact, where Joe will do a downward slam to the ground. It's actually different from the Red Hot Kick. For starters, Joe goes in a downward diagonal with that version, while Viewtiful Impact goes straight down. But if he lands on the ground, he can cause a temporary stunning effect and then send foes flying. But if you can time it perfectly, you can even spike characters. But you have to be very careful. The Viewtiful Impact, unlike the Red Hot Kick, you can't cancel until you perfectly land. So if you try to take down a foe, you're going down with them. For this final smash, Joe will actually do an uppercut, and anyone who gets trapped in it will be sent into a cinematic combo attack. Joe will actually go into Mach speed mode and doing rapid fire combo damage. He'll be going so fast, clones start appearing and attacking the foes. After some massive combos, the attack ends when Joe does a beautiful pose and the opponents get sent flying. Just like the special attack that actually exists within the game, this is called Viewtiful Forever. The odds of Viewtiful Joe getting in Smash are actually kind of slim in my honest opinion. When it comes to representation in Capcom, we already got quite a few characters already in the series. We've got the iconic fighting characters of Ryu and Ken, we've got Rathalos from Monster Hunter as a boss, and of course we have the Blue Bomber himself, Mega Man. And even if they added new characters from other games, I could still see other characters from the Capcom series making it, like Arthur, Amaterasu, and even Morrigan getting better representation, and getting a new character like Chun-Li, or even Proto Man and Bass. I feel like if Joe ever really got to join Smash Bros., it'd only be through fan demand, as there hasn't been a game for Joe since, well, the 2000s. But maybe someday we'll probably see this lovable hero, Henshin a Go-Go, once again. And that's how we set for Smash Viewtiful Joe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and you can also check out some of my other content, like my new series called This Had a What. I actually talked about a series I'm familiar with, Tokyo Ghoul, and how there was a movie, or I talked about another Capcom series, Power Stone, and how it got an anime series. There'll also be a brand new series that'll be talking about Smash Bros. Very soon. But until then, tune in for the next Moveset concept.